So, obviously great win as far as the 49ers beating the Cowboys. However, we can't just look at the win and just be like, okay, everything was good because we ended up getting the win, right? That second half definitely wasn't as dominant as the first half of football, and
Mhm.
mainly on the offensive end. There was some turnovers. Maybe Jimmy's shoulder was affecting him, which caused him to, miss a couple throws. Obviously there was that where that uh, 4th and 1 where or the quarterback sneak where he didn't allow for the offensive lineman to get set. So there was a lot of opportunities. I mean, the Cowboys made it get close, but luckily the Cowboys were being the Cowboys, and they were, playing not a very disciplined style of ball either, with their turnovers and just weird clock management, I guess you could put it, to say the least.
Mhm.
But I think you'd agree with me. It's safe to say that these same mistakes, if you make against a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers and a team like the Green Bay Packers, it's not going to go the same way. So, how would you see, the Packers? How could you see them take advantage of, if the 49ers come out and make similar mistakes? And what are those mistakes the 49ers need to stay away from?
Well, the 49ers just can't turn the ball over as much as they if the 49ers are minus in this game, it's going to be really tough for them to win. They probably don't. That's why they lost the first time they played Green Bay. They were -2, and the first interception by Garoppolo cost no points. The second one cost 3, and the 49ers ended up losing by 2.
Mm-hmm.
The what was it? Getting hit and throwing the ball backwards into the ground. That's the one that cost them the game because they were driving right there and you're across the 50-yard line. Instead, Green Bay puts the points on the board to go up 6. Even though you score the touchdown, allow Green Bay to be in a position where all they need to do is get about 50 yards right there, which sounds really hard. But when you have Aaron Rodgers and you have the group that those guys have on the other side, it makes it tough. So they just can't have those turnovers. That's number one. So if the Niners are negative, they're probably going to lose. And the other thing that they need to realize is they're not going to get bailed out by the Packers. I don't think as much as they were bailed out by the Cowboys.
Right.
The Cowboys had a number of mistakes throughout the game. You had the offsides penalties, you had holding penalties on the defensive side, you had a head coach and a special teams coordinator who beat you for a fake punt, and then who knows what the heck to do after
Left.
that, and they create their own delay of game by just being goofy,
Uh-huh.
and really just an overall not understanding the way that the rules of the game. It's just really crazy the way the Cowboys played that out. But you're not going to get that with Green Bay. I will say though, the one thing is it's interesting when you go back and you look at the games between the 49ers and the Packers since Kyle Shanahan got here. In 2018, they didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo. They went into Green Bay and they almost beat them on Monday Night Football. They lose by 3. And in that game, Rodgers throws for over 400 yards, but it still takes them a field goal at the end of the game in order to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the 2019 games where the 49ers blowed them out both times. And then you have the game earlier this year where it's a 3-point game again, or a field goal at the end of the game again to beat the 49ers. So the only time the Packers have blown out, have really taken advantage of the 49ers during this 5-game matchup was in 2020 when the 49ers were missing a bunch of players due to COVID.
Right.
So I fully expect this to be a game that's going to be really tight, and they need Jimmy Garoppolo to play at a higher level throughout the entire game. He played a really good first half on Sunday against the Cowboys, but they need him to maintain that all the way through. And the other thing I'll say, and this isn't necessarily to Garoppolo, but when they get their ball, if they're moving the ball in the first half like they did against the Cowboys, they cannot settle for field goals 3 times. I don't mind them kicking the field goals when they got stopped on 4th down. I'm not saying that I want them to go on 4th down. I like the fact that they were getting the points, but they've got to convert on those 3rd downs in that situation to keep it rolling. So, and I pointed that out quite a bit throughout the first half of that game because really they allowed Dallas to hang around in the first half, and so I
Mm-hmm.
know the mistake by Garoppolo there on the interception. People come back to that one, but there were issues before that, and it didn't even really have to do with Garoppolo.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I think that Kyle Shanahan does respect Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay a little more than maybe he respects Dallas Cowboys. I wonder if there's a 4th and 1, um, in field goal, like on the 20, like it was in the first half, if he doesn't go for that, knowing that he can't settle for field goals. And, Jimmy Garoppolo is a really good, quarterback sneaker. So I would think that, you want to go for those touchdowns versus settle, like you said, for the field goals.
Well, yeah, he studied those quarterback sneaks hard and long while he was the understudy of Tom Brady. That's why he's so good at it. Uh, but yeah, no, and again, I'm not. If he wants to go for it, I don't mind taking the points, right? I don't mind taking the points, but what I'm getting at is when it's you've got to score. And there was one possession there where they got down to like the 20 something. They're kind of in field goal range, and then they run the ball 3 straight times and they get stopped for a 4th and 1 and they kick the field goal. You just have a little bit of faith because the quarterback was playing really well in that first half, and I think they could have maybe
blown it out, made it so that you just took the air out of Cowboys, right?
Yeah, exactly. Get a touch. That game was 20-23. It should have been 37, really,
Mm-hmm.
with the way that they were moving the ball in the first half. Steve Young had an old saying. I think he said this after the 1992 NFC Championship game. When you're in the playoffs, kicking field goals is a fast way to lose.
Right. I like that. And then, so I also have like one random question. So one thing that was extremely noticeable about that 2019 NFC Championship game was I think Garoppolo went like 6 of 8 or something like that. He
Yes.
only attempted to throw the ball like 8 times or 11 times, something like that. But the rushing game really just obviously Mostert had a huge game against that, and that does a couple of things, right? It obviously keeps Aaron Rodgers off of the field. And it also just beats up that defense, and where you can start seeing where they just kind of blew them out because they were just able to get touchdowns, move down the field, with ease.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this rushing attack with Mitchell and Debo being the 1-2 option, and how the offensive line has kind of picked up their game with Mack and Trent as well, like, do you think that they're going to maybe take the ball out of Garoppolo's hands, not with maybe his shoulder not being there, his hand, he's had all these injuries. Could we see another NFC Championship 2019 version where it's just attack with the run and keep the ball out of Jimmy's hands, who unfortunately has been making quite a bit of, errors at inopportune times when it comes with throwing the ball?
I mean, if you can do that, that's I love watching teams run the ball and run the ball down like they did in that game. I know maybe it takes something away from Jimmy Garoppolo or what have you, but if the 49ers can run the ball at that pace, then the 49ers are going to win the game.
Right.
And in that game, I know we talk about the fact that they didn't throw the ball, but they threw the ball early on. There were some big completions early on. It wasn't until they got up, I think 10-0 or 17-0 where the run game completely went away, or the passing game completely went away. I think it was 10-0. But there was, Garoppolo had some good throws early on. He had a couple later on, but the run game really took over. And if the 49ers run game can do that on Saturday at Lambeau Field in these cold conditions, that would be amazing for the 49ers. And they could, right? The Packers come in giving up the 30th most yards per carry on average. And the matchup to watch, probably, everybody's talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's going to be something to pay attention to. But I think the biggest matchup in this game is going to be Alex Mack against Kenny Clark in the middle, because that's the guy who really blew up the 49ers running game in week 3, was
Right.
number 97 in the middle. There were a few times where there was one time in particular early on where he blew up Mack and just drove him back about 3 yards and then chased down the toss, which I think went to Trey Sermon, and they drop him on a toss play for a loss of like 4. And a lot of it's because the nose tackle is blowing it up and chasing him down the field.
I like it. And we're definitely